Talktainment Radio Worldwide Sound. Talktainmentradio.com. We give you a reason to come. The world's greatest radio. We give you a reason to stay. Radio, the way it should be heard. You got the power.
The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guest and not necessarily those of TalkTainmentRadio.com, the management, the staff, or K&E World Network, LLC.
Live call-in talk show. Dial 1-877-932-9766 and join the conversation here on TalkTainmentRadio.com.
This is the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. Radio the way it should be heard. And now, Mr. Neely Fuller.
If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Only confuse you. Only confuse you.
Hey, this is the time, and welcome to TalkTainmentRadio.com for Tuesday, November the 28th, 2018 program. Today's topic or title of the program will be Another Black Man Killed in the Prison System of White Supremacy Racism. We will have Mr. Fuller, who is on the line now, address that as he has many times, but it seems as though there has been an increase in this particular activity, and so we are going to have Mr. Fuller speak on it through the compensatory co-action. So welcome to the program. Our number to call is 1-877-932-9766. You could also view and hear this program via YouTube, the YouTube channel. All you have to do is go to the YouTube channel and then type in the word Talktainment. Then hit the space bar and then scroll down to the word radio. And then after you do that, it will appear Talktainment number 2. That's what you do. You hit that. Now, when you do that, you won't be able to see me. You will not be able to see Mr. Fuller. But hit the subscribe and like button on that. You could also Gmail me if you would like at the numeral number 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, at gmail.com. You can also go to Facebook.com/Talktainment. You can do that. But the way that we would prefer you do it is to go to the TalkTainmentRadio.com homepage. All you have to do is hit listen live, boom, you're right there. And when you do that, hit the subscribe and like button. Okay, big show today. We expect your calls and your opinions or your comments or your questions for Mr. Fuller. It doesn't have to be about the subject matter because, as you well know, he answers or addresses many issues, but do so, call in. So let me introduce to some and present to others Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr. Mr. Fuller, good morning.
Good morning.
And
Wednesday.
Yeah. Did I say Tuesday? I did say Tuesday, didn't I?
Tuesday.
Yeah. Thank you for that correction. I stand corrected. Thank you very much. Tuesday. And I had it written down here Tuesday. Wednesday, November the 28th, 2018. That is Wednesday. My bad. Okay, Mr. Fuller, before we get started here on the subject matter, before I came in, a gentleman, now check this out, Mr. Fuller, a gentleman from Denmark contacted me. I don't know what time it is in Denmark. I know they're before, but this is what he said via the Gmail. He says, good morning, Mr. Fuller, Mr. Bobby. Wednesday, November the 28th, 2018. My name is Wayne Owen Richards. Just to let you know that I have ordered and received Mr. Fuller's code book with delivery in Denmark. I use the order UK button, which directs you to Amazon.com UK website, chose my delivery address in Denmark with expedited delivery. Then he says, I have already informed Mr. Fuller via his website. Keep up the good work. I bring that out because, again, the compensatory concept is going all over the world. And I hope that you are graciously compensated for that, Mr. Fuller. You have a comment on that?
Well, for one thing, I'm wondering how he got that book without it costing him a fortune. I'm trying to get it all over the world, but the cost of sending this book out is astronomical, in my opinion. I wouldn't buy my own book if I was overseas. Right. Yeah, but, I don't know how much they're paying because I don't know all the technicalities of how that works. But I do want the book to get out, and I'm trying to figure out how to expedite it so that it'll be all over the world in places where it can be of some constructive use to people. That was my intent originally. And once I had the book and had the idea for the concept, because if it's not all over the world, it won't work anyway.
Well, I thought that was good because in our previous conversations, you just mentioned that the book is available in the UK and also in Canada. So when Mr. Wayne Owen Richards indicated that it was there, I was quite surprised. I didn't know whether you had anything to do with that or what. But anyway, I was glad that it is getting out. Very, very glad about that.
I'm pleased, too.
All right, good. Okay, let me do this. The opening, this is TalkTameRadio.com. We go where you go on the world's greatest radio. And now, if you are listening or viewing the program, you are in touch with the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr., and I am the co-host, Mr. Bobby, blessed to be in this position. Our topic, again, another black man killed in the prison system of white supremacy, racism. Mr. Fuller, I don't know if you checked out the news. I know you do at points read the, is it the Washington Post, I believe you quote sometimes?
Yes, I read everything that I possibly can get my hands on. I read several newspapers if I can get them, and magazines, and look at television when I can, and try to keep up on everything that's going on everywhere.
Okay.
Because it's a world problem, and we can't solve any of the major problems without solving the minor problems, so-called, because the minor problems are major problems, regardless of what form that those problems take. So you have to be well informed in order to solve problems. Mm-hmm. Because everything is interrelated. I mean, this world is really a small place, even though it may seem large, and everything is connected. So if you got a problem in one place, you're going to have a problem in another place. So you have to try to keep up with everything that's going on all the time in all areas of activity. Economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war.
Okay. Being that you try to keep up with different publications, did you come across or had you seen or heard via whichever news outlet you use this alarming increase in innocent black men who have been killed by race soldiers masking themselves as police officers? The one before we had our break, an armed security guard with license to carry a weapon had subdued a suspect, I believe is either in Dallas or Chicago. I think my son-in-law said Chicago. But anyway, was subdued, holding the suspect down, and the police were called. And when they arrived, seeing this uniformed security guard licensed to carry a weapon, shot him and killed him. And just recently, last week, when I was in Dallas, Texas, a shooting occurred in Alabama. a black man, innocent. Something happened, and the police were called, and they shot him, and realized that it was the wrong person, but there's another black man dead. Address those, please.
Well, for one thing, in a war, you have uniforms. And the uniform of a black person on the planet in 2018 is a black skin, a prison uniform. That's the uniform. So when you see a prisoner doing anything that looks like it might be bordering on violence of any type, in the prison system of white supremacy, you have a tendency to open fire and ask questions later, simply because the prisoner is wearing that prison uniform. And when you have a prison system, you expect prisoners to act like prisoners. Now, any prisoner that's not acting according to the prison rules is subject to get shot. Every black person on the planet should be thinking in terms of, I can be shot at any time. Why? Because I'm wearing the standard world prison uniform of a person who is a target. In other words, you're wearing the prison uniform, you're a prisoner of war in the system of white supremacy, and therefore you're automatically a target on account of the color of your skin. You're automatically a target, somebody to be shot at, somebody to be killed anywhere at any time for some reason or no reason or whatever fabricated reasons that come up. You should expect that. I've said for months, even when they were talking about Trayvon Martin and etc., I said expect this to be business as usual. Expect this to be business as usual. This is prison business. Expect anybody in the prison yard to be shot at any time by someone who is in the authority to do so. Because you're wearing the prison uniform, the world prison uniform. Prison uniform. Black skin is the world prison uniform. What is that? Is it going through that door? Is it going through that fence? Is it walking down the street? Is it someplace that it shouldn't be? That prisoner, that's a prisoner of war. I mean, question it at all times, because that prisoner of war is somebody to be watched, somebody to be, you keep your eye on them at all times, and if it looks like they're doing anything that may bring suspicion that they are breaking the prison rules, and there are a million of them, and there are going to be more, then you punish the person, and then, or grab the person and detain the person, or shoot the person, or do whatever, until you figure out what's going on. But the first thing you do is take action. You don't bother with all the little details of someone who is not a prisoner.
Okay.
All right?
Mm-hmm.
A prisoner is under question at all times, simply by being there. Being there where? Anywhere on the planet, black person, you're out of place. You don't have a place except prisoner of war in the system of white supremacy.
All righty. Let's do this before we delve more into this. Let's take this call. Caller, you are now on with Mr. Fuller. You can be heard, so take it away.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Bobby. Good morning, Mr. Fuller. Mr. Fuller, my question is that in the system of racism, white supremacy, just based upon evidence, it looks like that suspected racist man, woman, and child spend a tremendous amount of time and energy to maintain the system of white supremacy, whether it's economics, education, all the 9 areas of activity. In a contrast to that, is it logical for me to say that non-white people, specifically black people, are not exhibiting the same amount of time and energy to end the system of racism, white supremacy? Yes, absolutely. absolutely. Black people have a priority. Like in the system of white supremacy, white people are trained or taught at an early age to have a priority, and that is to support the system of white supremacy. That's what they are taught. And the victims of white supremacy are taught, if they are taught by white people in the system of white supremacy, to support the system of white supremacy. So this is why you have white supremacy worldwide in all 9 areas of activity: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. White supremacy in all of these areas of activity. And everybody is taught this, both white and non-white, directly and indirectly. That's what white supremacy means. So black people among themselves, as prisoners of war, teach each other what most prisoners, or most people who have just about despaired of being prisoners, do. They do little petty stuff. You look forward to doing petty stuff. Petty stuff like what? Impressing each other. That's what prisoners do. If you go to a prison, you see the prisoners all day long trying to impress each other. Impress each other how? By playing little kid games, marbles, cards, bingo, a fight in the cell block. I mean, that's entertainment. I mean, that's something to do in the prison. Start a fight. I mean, and then look forward to starting the next fight and getting back at the next people in the next cell block. Why? Because you're in a prison, and this is the nature of a prison camp. People have a tendency to do this over a long period of time. They can't make any grandiose plans. Plans to do what? I mean, they're never, they're doing a life sentence. This is a life sentence in the system of white supremacy. There's no such thing as parole. There's no such thing as a pardon in the system of white supremacy. So we do little small things and make big things out of small things. And I just like to look at the things that I'll say here in 2018. What does the average black male, I know in the, I would say, speculate, in the northwestern hemisphere, think about doing most of the time, or make plans? I'll say a young black person. What does he or she look forward to? Just about 2 or 3 things, just a very short list. And what is it? All right. The average black male walking around in the northwestern hemisphere in what we call the United States walks around thinking about, if he's about 16, 17 years old or thereabouts, give or take a few years, basketball player. All right? That's correct. The black person with the bouncing basketball out there on the concrete, bouncing basketball. Got it in his hand, back and forth, one hand to the other. Or looking forward to being a football player. That's the second thing. All right. Now, if that doesn't look very promising, then in the front of his mind, talking about the black male now, the young black male, he's thinking about maybe singing a song, glorifying the ghetto thug life. This is in 2018. All right? I'm going to write a song, I'm going to sing a song, or I'm going to maybe be on the stage, and one of these days, maybe if I'm lucky, I'm going to, write a song about glorifying the prison thug life. All right? And what does the thug life consist of? Killing other black people and pushing black females around. That's just about it. You don't hear in the lyrics and anything about anything else, about building anything. All right? I don't hear it. From what I hear. Of course, I'm not up on all of that. But very seldom do you hear anything that has anything to do with anything except showing off and killing and doing little petty things to impress members of the female sex. That's like ambition. It doesn't go any farther than that. I mean, you can nail that down. It's not going, you start talking about engineering and all like that, and start talking about space exploration, or start talking about harvesting, coming up with formulas for making better crops or something. Oh, no, that's nowhere on the radar. Nowhere on the radar. I mean, that's considered white folks stuff. All right? And the fourth one is being a ghetto thug. Not singing about being a thug, but being a ghetto thug. And not being a universal thug even. Just, small time. Ghetto thug. Don't move outside the ghetto with your thugism, because you know that if you move outside the ghetto with that thug stuff, by how far you're going to get with it on the first day. Not very far. So you make a big deal in the little prison, part of the prison that you're given space to do it, of terrorizing people on bus stops, shooting into a crowd of black people at a picnic, stuff like that. Now, I'm talking about what you look forward to, truth be told. 17, 18 years old, what's really going on in your mind? Going down the street, bouncing that ball, and if that doesn't look promising after a few bounces, doesn't look like you're going to make the big leagues, big time, or walking down the street thinking about being a linebacker, and that doesn't look promising. You got hurt in high school doing it, so now you're limping. So what's left? Singing a song, writing a song, making a record. Making a record about what? About thug life. What else do you know? What else do you see around you? So you're going to make another one of the millions of records that are about thugging. Thugging among whom? Among other black people. Killing other black people. Stealing from other black people. Robbing other black people. All right? And then that seems like you're not going to be really good at that. Then you actually don't sing about being a thug. You start thinking seriously, age 22 now, about seriously being a thug, simply because nothing else is ever in your radar and nobody comes to you with any other plan. See, that's another thing. Nobody in school or anywhere else gives you another plan. Now, I'm not talking about theoretical stuff. I'm not talking about you get all the theoretical stuff right from the first grade in school. All about paradise and all about, being a king or a queen and all the great kings and queens that have come and gone and all like that. But you don't get any detailed information about what you're going to do with that piece of paper that you have in your hand when you walk off of whatever campus you're on. Nobody gives you details about what phone to pick up and what number to call that will send you on your way on the correct track. This is what needs to be done. We need to have a world when you don't come out of any school unless you have a long list, maybe a whole book of pages of phone numbers that you immediately call while you got that paper in your hand, say that you graduated. You immediately call any one of those numbers, and they said, oh, yeah, we need somebody like you right now, and we know you're prepared because they prepared you in that school. No, you come out wishing and wanting to get somebody to tell you something about what do you do with that piece of paper in your hand. Who do you go to? Where can you go? So you wind up in despair, and you wind up with a 9mm pistol in your hand, shooting up the neighborhood. This is what all your 22 years prepared you for. That's a sad state of affairs.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, caller, thank you for your call. TalkTimeAtRadio.com is a 24/7 no-charge worldwide broadcasting facility with hosts delivering on various topics such as news, lifestyle, sports, law, health, wellness, religion, and politics. Now, I'm going to share three with you. First of all, a conversation with Don Carina. The second one would be The Wellness Spot with Tanya Karen, and Real Men with Pastor Banks. Now, these shows are all exclusive to TalkTainmentRadio.com. A wide variety of subject matters and topics that can be discussed, and you might want to take your time to give it a listen as you are on this program, The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. and I, Mr. Bobby, as co-host. All you have to do is go to TalkTainmentRadio.com, click on programs for scheduled times. Talktainment Radio, that's radio the way it should be heard. My name is Mr. Bobby. I'm the co-host of The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, and our main topic is another black man killed in the prison system of white supremacy, racism. You're already in confinement, on your way to greater confinement, and we will discuss that later. Let's go to the phone lines. Okay, caller, you are on with Mr. Fuller. Now, you're about 4 minutes from break, so just keep that in mind as you ask your question. Go ahead, please.
Yes, sir. My name is Logan. I'm calling from Baltimore. Mr. Fuller.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Did you hear about the people who are sitting on Island, West Treatment Island, killing their so-called Christian missionary?
Did I hear about what? On an island?
Yeah, it was on the island of Bengal off the coast of India. There's a group of black-skinned people been there 60,000 years. Anybody who comes to the island gets shot with arrows.
Oh, yes, I read about that. And
yes,
a young person went there with the purpose of teaching Christianity, I believe. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, sir. My question is...
And he was still in the process of trying to do so.
Yes. My question is, do you believe that they are the smartest people of color on this planet? Because they stick to a code that they have.
You say what now?
Do you believe that they're the smartest people of color on this planet because they stick to their code?
Oh, yes, but they're still subject to the system of white supremacy.
Yeah, we all are, yeah.
Yes, I mean, they're still, they're just like, they're primitive people. Truth be told, primitive just means you're not up to date with what's going on in the world that you're in. You just know about the little location where you are. So all of us are more or less primitive, or we wouldn't be in the state that we're in. According to the code, which is what I've written, we are in 4 categories all the time, basic categories, compared to the white supremacists. We're pitiful, meaning we're worthy of pity, and we're primitive, meaning we're not up to date on what's going on in the real world that is created, or produced, rather, by the system of white supremacy. And we are stupid and are silly. Stupid doesn't mean ignorant. Stupid means we know better than some things, but we keep doing things that don't make sense, even though we know better, because we don't know how to codify ourselves better than what we have been doing. We just fall into the same old patterns that have gone before us. Black people have a tendency to copy whatever the black people who have gone before them do. And that has proven to be a failure when it comes to keeping up and surpassing where we are now, everywhere on the planet, in every area of activity. We just keep having the same shallow goals. Mm-hmm. And what do we mean by what those goals are? I just went over them shortly before. Impressing each other. Mm-hmm. That's a very shallow goal for prisoners to walk around trying to impress each other, rather than think about 24/7 how not to be a prisoner. And that is a whole nother world altogether. A prisoner of the system of white supremacy. How not to be that. Mm-hmm. But we have resigned ourselves to just playing little games with each other. Little silly games, little childish games, just like prisoners of war do after they have been prisoners of war for a long while.
Okay, I have to leave it there. Thank you for your call, caller. TalkTimeAtRadio.com. We go where you go. Check us out on 94.1 WGRN. Podcasts are available. Download the TalkTimeAtRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. Stay right there. More of your calls and an interesting Gmail. All that and more coming up next.
For the best home fragrance and beauty products, shop Ash Cooking online.
That's ASHKICKIN.
Made with 100% natural quality ingredients and handcrafted with your family in mind, Ash Cooking products are better than those other guys. Ash Cooking candles, incense, body butter, face moisturizer, and hair moisturizer are priced just right, and you can get yours at 10% off with coupon code TALK17. Support this 100% black-owned business and get your home and body smelling and feeling all right.
That's ASHKICKIN.
Shop Ash Kicking online at www.ashkickin.com.
If you or someone you know is abusing drugs and or alcohol and want to stop the abuse, contact APDS at 1409 East Livingston Avenue. Office hours are 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. daily and 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturday. APDS is certified by the Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services and primarily funded through the Adam H. Board. Fees are based on your income and Medicaid is always accepted. For more information, call 614-253-4448.
Are you ready for a high school that allows you to work at a place that is right for you? Are you ready to earn a certification in healthcare, business, or manufacturing while achieving your high school diploma? Then you are ready for Life Skills High School, a free public school option for high school students 16 to 21 years old. Learn more about your free high school educational options at lifeskillshs.org or call them at 1-800-888-7992. Life Skills High School, education that fits your life.
Sex Code War by Kahari Inaharo, the author of the Essence Magazine bestseller Race Code War, is releasing his second book, Sex Code War. Be on the lookout for Sex Code War.
This is Al Edmondson, owner of a Cutter Brother West Barbershop. I'm calling on all barbers and beauticians. It's time for us to unite as one. We can serve our communities better together. Join the Ohio Black Barber Beauty Network. For more information, visit www.obbn.org or call 614-427-3226 to get more information. Be the change that you want to see in your community. Join our network.
Here's an idea. You've heard of the notion of pay it forward. It comes from the 2000 movie Pay It Forward. Basically, the premise is helping someone with no expectations of payback, providing assistance to someone, passing information on, simply doing a good deed for a total stranger, and instead of allowing them to pay it back, ask them to pay it forward, doing favors for other people and asking them to do the same. The principle is the same as multi-level marketing, except that instead of soap or vitamins, it's generosity between strangers that is being passed on. Pay It Forward is mentoring. It's volunteering in your community. It's shoveling a neighbor's snow or cutting an elderly person's grass for them or taking a senior to the store. Don't wait for someone else to do something good. Do it yourself. It starts with you. Talktainment Radio strongly embraces the notion of pay it forward. In fact, we stand by for an important announcement for renters and investors. You have probably heard about this bad economy and high foreclosure rate. I'm here to bring you hope. Every foreclosed property is a blessing or a deal for a new buyer or investor. These properties are selling every day all over Central Ohio for several reasons. They are equity rich, worth tens of thousands of dollars above their price. There is down payment money available and remodeling funds if needed. Don't let the doom and gloom news keep you from your dream of home ownership. Call Lincoln Realty today at 865-9614. That's 865-9614. Call now. Always remember, these times, like all times, are good times if we but know what to do with them. They also have programs for investors who want to get off the couch and run with the big dogs. Call Lincoln today at 865-9614 or log on to repohomeslist.com.
Live call-in talk show. Dial 1-877-932-9766 and join the conversation here on TalkTimidRadio.com.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Go ahead. Make my day.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
You got the power.
TalkTainmentRadio.com. We go where you go. Download the TalkTainmentRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. My name is Mr. Bobby, and I am blessed to be the co-host of the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Our subject today introduced is another black man killed in the system of white supremacy, racism, and Mr. Fuller has been addressing that, and we will take your calls and Gmails. Now, let me say this before we go to the call. Kenny Everett, your Gmail was going to be first read out of the commercial. It is my effort to get to it because I think it's very relevant to what Mr. Fuller has just said. But before we do that, the first priority is the phone call. So, caller, if you are ready, you are now on with Mr. Fuller, and you can be heard. Proceed, please.
Hi, Mr. Bobby. Hi, Mr. Fuller. And my question is, I have two questions. My first question is, Mr. Fuller, do you think boycott is a very good strategy for black people in America to undertake?
Did you say boycott?
Boycott.
Okay, all right.
Yes, because I don't think boycott can get rid of the race problem in America, but I think boycott can actually reduce the impact that it has on black people specifically.
Okay.
Because most of these major corporations, most of these major white corporations, they are the ones financing the police force and all that.
Okay, we're going to give Mr. Fuller an opportunity to answer that question about boycott. Mr. Fuller?
Well, here again, I say, first of all, you start with where you are and what your status is. Prisoner of war. Now, how does a prisoner of war boycott the prison? Well, you withhold your services to the prison. But that's kind of difficult to do when the commodities, the things that you get out of the prison system, are things that you need. Now, you can, quote, unquote, not partake in the things you don't need that you have to pay for. I mean, like little trinkets and whatnot. You could just dispense with all of that. Just say you're not buying anything like extra clothes and whatnot to impress someone. Stop that. Prisoners are not, no one really cares that counts anyway. So unless you are actually applying for something, some type of specific job where you have to have certain things in order to get the job. Now that's a job requirement, even in the prison system. But anything else, anything that prisoners do to impress each other, that should stop. That should stop. Stop spending money to impress other black people. Why? Because you're not going to get a return on your investment. You're trying to impress some other black person by how you walk or what type of hair do you have or something like that. Where is the return on the investment? What kind of car you buy? Where is the return on your investment? These are investments. You're trying to attract attention to yourself. So anything you do to try to attract attention to yourself is supposed to be an investment where you're going to get a bigger return of something of constructive value than what you put into it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And that is not likely to happen.
All right.
In the prison system.
All right.
So you don't actually boycott. You just cut out all the fat in your entire existence.
Okay. What's your second question, sir?
My second question is, Prince Charles of Great Britain. I call him the Prince of Darkness. He recently came to Ghana to meet with the Ghanaian president to talk about future prospects with Africa and all that. I would just want if Mr. Fuller could expand on that. What is their real aim in coming back to Africa? Because it's been a long while since Prince Charles set foot in Africa.
Okay, Mr. Fuller.
What is the real plan in going back to Africa? Is that the question?
Yeah, the question is what is their real aim in going back to Africa?
Okay, thank you, caller. Go ahead, Mr. Fuller.
Thank you.
Well, according to what I have written, black people should be able to go anywhere as individual persons. See, there's no such thing as Africa in the system of white supremacy, or Asia, or America. These places don't exist. These are just labels.
In the system of
white supremacy.
Yes.
In the system of white supremacy, you have white supremacists and you have their victims. And so the victims are wherever the white supremacists say that they're going to be. Black people don't go where they choose to be. They go where the white supremacists want them to be.
Yes, sir.
So we're talking about the entire planet here. So the code position is we should have the ambition of becoming universal men and universal women. The females being universal women and the males being universal men. Meaning what? Meaning you go anywhere in the known universe, and wherever you happen to be, you are maximum constructive content. In other words, you're a universal man. You relate to everything in the most constructive manner, wherever you happen to be.
Okay.
Wherever you go, and you don't set limits on where you go, because the white supremacists have already set these limits. And so you're supposed to break out of these limits because nobody restricts the white supremacists.
Nobody.
The white supremacists don't care anything about anybody's border. All right? That's why they're supreme. Anywhere they go is where they say they're supposed to be. They don't have a place. But their place is wherever they are.
Okay. Let's address this question from the Gmail. This is from Brother Kenny Everett. He says this, Mr. Fuller. He said, good morning, first of all. He says that Tupac Shakur was the most popular thug life rapper of all time. Eventually, Tupac realized he was being used to confuse black people and change the message of his music. He often spoke about consequences of telling the truth to good people. He was ultimately killed for it. My question is, should more of us stop being afraid and work to change our condition?
Well, the code just says that if you're talking about the music field, there's just one type of music, and that is music is nothing but sound. What kind of sound? It's just two types of sound in the universe, music and noise. So music is whatever sound that you hear. You have to hear sound. Whatever sound that you hear that causes you to think constructively and act constructively, that is the definition of music. Anything else, any type of other sound, according to the code, is noise.
Okay.
There's no such thing as black music, white music, or, this type of classical music. It's music.
Mm-hmm.
Music is any sound that you hear. That when you hear that sound, it causes you to think, speak, and act in a constructive manner. That's automatically music.
Yes.
Even if it's the sound of a waterfall.
Yes.
It causes you to think, speak, and act in a constructive manner. That is the definition, the compensatory definition of music.
Okay.
That's what you're listening to. And if you listen to anything that causes you to do something that's non-constructive, That, by definition, is noise.
Okay, but the caller, or rather the Gmailer said that Tupac came to a realization that the quote-unquote thug life music that he was producing, he realized, according to the Gmailer, that he was being used by the system of racism, which is white supremacy, and changed his message from that confusion to telling the truth, and he was killed for it. That was his focus. Not necessarily the music, but he changed his message of the music to telling the truth, and he was killed for it. That's what he wants you to address.
Absolutely. Anytime a black person does anything of constructive value in any area of activity, that black person becomes in danger, unless that black person is doing something of constructive value to the system of white supremacy. But if that black person is doing anything that's going to be of constructive value to non-white people, that black person is immediately in danger.
Okay. Well, he was killed, and there was
absolutely. I mean, you should expect that.
Mm-hmm. Well, there definitely was confusion.
Anytime you start taking constructive effect on a significant scale, the white supremacists will come around and look at what you're doing, and if it's of a significant scale, they'll keep you on a watch list. And if it looks like it's going somewhere, your influence of having black people doing something of constructive value, you will suddenly find yourself in serious trouble, in greater confinement and or death.
TalkTameRadio.com. We go where you go. Download the TalkTameRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That is radio the way it should be heard. My name is Mr. Bobby. I am the co-host of the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Interesting discussion today, and we will continue that. If you'd like to call in, you may at 877-932-9766. But this is a time where we have Mr. Fuller speak to his book. And Mr. Fuller, this is the time, so you have the floor. Go ahead, please.
Well, a lot of the things that I've been talking about here on the program, in fact, everything, either direct or indirectly, is covered in the textbook, The Victims of White Supremacy, Compensatory Counter-Racist Code, that you can get by going to producejustice.com. That's producejustice.com. And what will come up on the screen is a brief description of the basic textbook, the revised, expanded 2016 edition, and also the original edition for those who want that one. For some reason, some people requested it. That's why it's there, because the revised, expanded edition covers just about everything that was in the original edition and has a whole lot more. But some people, for some reason, have said that they like the original edition too. So that's there too. And there's also an addition to the basic revised expanded edition called a counter-racist word guide. And that's not a dictionary, but it's similar to a dictionary. And it talks about or makes suggestions about how not to use certain words, what questions to ask when other people use these words, and what words to use yourself or not use, and when and where and under what circumstances, and give suggestions about doing so. That's in the English language. The English language can be used in a very tricky manner, which the white supremacists are experts at doing. And they manipulate people through the way that they express themselves. So this word guide shows a victim of racism some of the things that they do in going about doing that. For instance, the use of the word dark or black. They'll say dark mood. That term is in the book. Dark mood. D-A-R-K-M-O-O-D. 2 words. How can a mood be dark? How does anybody determine that a mood is dark? Has anybody ever photographed a mood? I mean, it probably could be done. I'm quite sure the white supremacists, if they hear me say that, they'll go actually, what the white supremacists do, they take everything for the most part. Now, they make an exception with this thing called Black Friday. But for the most part, anything that's dark is something that's supposed to be non-constructive, which means that most of the universe, which is dark, are they saying that that's non-constructive? Well, in their lexicon, it is. You know, bring light to the universe. But actually, darkness is essential. You have to have darkness, and you have to have light. They're supposed to complement each other when, in science, in a scientific way, they're supposed to be compensatory, supportive of each other when used in the correct manner. But the white supremacists have looked at whiteness and then looked at darkness, and for the most part, took everything that has anything to do with light, white, bright, as being something to strive for. They'll say, that student, that's a bright student. Well, what makes that student bright? What do you mean bright? B-R-I-G-H-T. See, these are words. But without further ado, I'm just giving some idea about some of the things that are in the book. And then there are some very common words. I mean, well, words that have been made common, including the word common. Communist, socialist, capitalist, and how these words are used to have people arguing and fussing and fighting. And the white supremacists use all three of these words as if they're type mysterious divisions, whereas the white supremacists are all of these things. The white supremacists are capitalists, they're communists, and they're socialists. And they wrapped it all up into a thing called the system of white supremacy. And it's all the same thing, white supremacy. But when they talk to people of color, they divide it up into little boxes and have, you know, and then label people. Oh, you're a socialist. Oh, you talk like you're a communist, or you act like you're a communist. Oh, you're against capitalism. When actually, the supreme communists and the supreme capitalists and the supreme socialists are white supremacists.
Mm-hmm.
This is all explained in the textbook. You can get the books by going to producejustice.com.
All righty. And thank you for that. While you were speaking, I happened to look up that term dark, and you have 14 references to different avenues that the white supremacist is used in the description of darkness. Wow, that's good. Okay, Mr. Fuller, the two questions are on the board here. What is the significance? Now, well, you already know this because you talk about it all the time. We are in confinement, so that's established. Now, whether a person accepts it or not, that's up to them. But what is the significance of the industrial nations of the world robbing Africa, or the concept of Africa, establishing military bases in the concept of so-called Africa, and pilfering their resources?
All a part of the prison system. The planet Earth is a prison. And every white person who believes in white supremacy, that person is the warden of the prison. Every white person who believes in white supremacy and practices the system of white supremacy. Not talking about all white people, but I'm talking about the smartest and most powerful. Otherwise, there would be no such thing as white supremacy. But you don't call them that according to the code, because there's no way to prove it. See, being a prisoner of war, and you're going to go and get in the warden's face, like it showed in that movie Shawshank Redemption, depicted in that scene by the prisoner, played by Tim Robbins, when he called the warden a name. You don't call the warden of a prison that you're in a name, that the warden doesn't want you to call the warden by that name. or terrible things will happen to you, as in the movie Shawshank Redemption. The character got in solitary confinement on account of he called the warden, what? Obtuse. And the warden said, oh, you come in my office and call me obtuse? And you already my prisoner? I'll show you obtuse. Solitary confinement. How about that for obtuse? You know, and what does the word obtuse mean? I looked it up, and it means kind of stubborn or sticking to whatever you believe in, even though it may not make sense or something like that. But the warden says, regardless of what it means, if I don't want you to call me that, that's not what I am. And if you don't believe it, I'll prove it to you by inflicting harm on you, because I have what? Something that you don't have. Power. Negro. None of you black people on this planet have the power that I have. None. There's no place you can go. There's no place nobody you can call on that can save you from me when I decide to take action against you. And this is what white supremacy means. That's real.
Okay.
Did I answer the question?
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. Okay, as we wind down this hour, I guess we have 4 minutes in the remaining first hour of the program. Mr. Fuller, being again that you have addressed that you look at publications, television, newspaper articles, magazines, all this and their object is obviously to sell these magazines. Speaking that we are in confinement, and some are in greater confinement, as you will discuss perhaps later. What is the thing that we look for, or as we work to solve the problem of racism, is there any one thing that you see that is outstanding, or that we need to really, really focus on for real and quit all this talking and arguing and all this confusion?
Sure, just basically one thing. Knowing and understanding the system of white supremacy, what it is and how it works. These are the quotes that I put in front of everything that I've published. And, you know, I put it on, in the updated versions, I put it on a separate page. I mean, it takes up the whole page. If you do not understand white supremacy, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will confuse you. That's a guarantee. And people who are confused become non-functional people. They become non-constructive people. We are confused. We think we're in different types of government. It's just one government on the planet. The system of white supremacy. And it is anti-black. That government is totally anti-black, anti-non-white, against black, brown, red, yellow, anybody with color in his or her skin, worldwide, 24/7, no exceptions to that, none, zero. And they have not trying to get that together. You don't have white supremacy in one place and don't have it in another. It's supreme everywhere on this place called planet Earth. So you have to they have a code for keeping that together, the white code. All right, everything they do is going to give strength to the system of white supremacy. So to counteract it, you have to have an individual code, a code that's designed for the individual victim, the prisoner of war, to dissolve the white code. That's the missing link. That's the one approach that we haven't taken. And it's got to be done on an individual basis. Groups, the white supremacy will destroy a group. Once it gets a label, that group gets a label, it's easily destroyed, infiltrated, bought off, whatever, killed off, because you got a label.
Yes.
But if you don't have a label, except victim of white supremacy, and that would mean every non-white person on the planet, and that person has a code, thought, speech, and action that is designed to dissolve the system of racism on a daily basis on everything that they think, say, and do, then the problem theoretically is solved.
Okay. TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio the way it should be heard. Thanks for listening. Stay tuned for the second hour.
Talktainment Radio Worldwide Sound. Talktainmentradio.com. We give you a reason to come. The world's greatest radio. We give you a reason to stay. Radio, the way it should be heard. You got the power.
The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guest and not necessarily those of TalkTainmentRadio.com, the management, the staff, or K&E World Network, LLC.
Live call-in talk show. Dial 1-877-932-9766 and join the conversation here on TalkTainmentRadio.com.
This is the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. Radio, the way it should be heard. And now, Mr. Neely Fuller.
If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Only confuse you. Only confuse you.
Okay, welcome to TalkTainmentRadio.com. You are now listening to the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., and I am your co-host. Let me read the opening. Here at Talktainment Radio, we go where you go, the world's greatest radio. Now, you are in touch with the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., and again, me, your co-host, and this is Radio the Way It Should Be Heard. Today is Wednesday. I say that like that because I erroneously said it was Tuesday, but Mr. Fuller graciously corrected me, and I accepted that. Today is Wednesday, November the 28th, 2018. Man, it's going fast. We've been discussing this topic and others, but the main topic today has been another black man killed in the prison system of white supremacy, racism. And Mr. Fuller has addressed that. Tupac Shakur was mentioned in his message that he had. And we invite you to call in with whatever question you want to. It doesn't have to be on this particular subject. And you can do so by calling 1-877-932-9766. And the reason why that is first is because it was communicated to me that the phone calls will be first. Your Gmails will be whenever I can get to them, but first calls, call first and then they'll get on. You could also look at this program if you would like, but you're only going to see me if you go to the YouTube channel, type in the word Talktainment, and then hit the space bar, and then you can type in the word radio, and then scroll down to Talktainment number 2, and you are there where you can see me, and I don't know why you would want to do that, but you can see me and you can hear Mr. Fuller. And while you are there, hit the subscribe button and the like button. Okay, that's what they told me to say, so do that. You can also do this. You can Gmail me at the numero 7, Mr. Bobby, B-O-B-B-Y, at gmail.com. You can also go to Facebook. Facebook.com/talk to him, and you can hear the entire show, which is not completed yet, but you can hear that. And you can do this, which is what we prefer. Just go to the TalkTainmentRadio.com homepage, click Listen Live. That's all you have to do, and you're there. I was also told to ask you to hit the subscribe button and like button there. Okay, got all of that out of the way. Okay, let's do this here. Mr. Fuller, this Gmail comes from Shahid. That's all I'm going to give the last name on this. And the question is, good morning, Mr. Fuller. Good
morning.
Thank you. Can you, Mr. Fuller, can you speak more about the so-called creator? You are very good with analyzing with logic and evidence. What is the evidence of the existence of a so-called creator? Thank you. Shahid.
Well, the evidence, in my opinion, and it's strictly an opinion because there are all kinds of opinions about what we call the creator, and people fight about it all the time. And I don't want to be a part of that fight or add to it. I'm trying to just make some sense out of it. In my shallow way, I say that everything that I'm looking at, including myself, was created. Created by what? By whom? Is it an it or a person or what? I'm here. Did I do it? That's the main thing I sent on. Did I create myself? And if I did create myself, it doesn't seem logical that I would have created myself, and I didn't know that I created myself, because it would seem logical to me that if I created myself, I would remember it. That would be a part of the creation, because the Creator has an excellent memory.
Yes.
I would think, logically speaking. So when I look at a leaf on a tree, like the song says, or a cloud, or the ocean, or fire, or rocks, or birds, or other people, I say that everything that I am looking at, and the things that I perceive, and the things that I'm aware of, like a thing called breath, was created by somebody or something other than myself, and I haven't run across anyone who says that he or she is a creator and proved it. I haven't, and if anybody does, I want to be introduced to that facility, that person, that thing, whatever it was, that is the creator, all right, of all things that I'm looking at and have heard about. And that's the logic that I follow. I simply say, by different names, all power, that's what I choose to call it in the textbook for victims of white supremacy, all power, or the Creator, or God, or Jehovah, or whatever name or title that many people, Allah, different people of different religions or philosophers have different names for what they call the Creator. But I just simply say everything that I'm looking at was created, and I've never met a person that created anything. Because when that person starts, even when the person uses the term creation, the person will say, well, this is my work of art, and I created it. Well, I look at it and I say, wait a minute. You arranged something that was already here. See, there's a difference between arranging and creating, okay? Creating means you make something out of nothing after you make the nothing that you make the something into. You have to have a creator in order to make nothing. We say space is nothing, except it's space. But the creator, you have to have a creator of space.
Yes.
So, whatever people do is an arrangement within the space that's already here.
Yes, sir.
Starting with just space. So that's the logic that I have. I can't go any further than that.
Okay.
My mind doesn't take me further than that.
All right.
And there are some people who might claim their mind takes them much further than that. Well, I can't quite reach that.
All right, Mr.
Fuller. I haven't reached that stage.
Okay, you answered the question sufficiently. Let's see here. Okay, let's go to the phone call. Okay, caller, you are now on with Mr. Fuller, and you can be heard. Go ahead.
Yes, sir, Mr. Fuller. Last week or two, you made a comment about the vagina being replaced with the anus for the man. Here in this city that I live in, black women who are between the ages of 20 and 30, majority of them, for what I see, is I run into so many black women who are between the ages of 20 and 30 who are dating and married to each other. It's epidemic in the city. I've ran into 5 black couples, black women who were married to each other between the ages of 20 and 30. I've ran into 5 couples within the last month. So here's the question. Well, here's the further comment on that. Well, if black women are marrying each other, I'm talking about these young black women, that means that the black man won't have anything to procreate with besides another man's anus, just like you said. So here's the final comment on that. The white supremacist, he wants to make sure everybody is in he wants to make sure that every person of color is in a non-constructive relationship. That's my point. BGQ, I guess that's what you call it.
Yeah.
Y'all get your comment on that.
Okay, caller. Before Mr. Fuller comments, Mr. Fuller said correctly, white man's anus. He didn't say yeah, that's what, yeah, okay. All right, Mr. Fuller, go ahead, please.
I've been trying for about 50 years, and people looked at me, and with amusement, really, saying that, hey, Fuller's really run off the track on this one. But I said, it looks like, at that time, this was 50 years ago, I said it looked like at that time, the white supremacists, when they run out of things to pull on black people, they were going to go for one of the most powerful areas, or the second most powerful area of activity, or most powerful force, you might say, among the people of the planet, next to the system of white supremacy, and that is the sexual force. And so the concept, my theory was at that time, and still is, that, hey, when they play all their cards and they're going to hold out that last card, and that last card will be sexual confusion, and they don't care how I didn't know the details of how they were going to go about doing it, but I saw some symptoms of it 50 years ago. This was already on their table, and now they are accelerating this everywhere, all over the world, including in what black people call their homeland, Africa, and all like that. They are accelerating this whole process of having black females, rolling around in bed with each other. And if that's not satisfying enough, then adopting some type of animal, a dog or something like that, as their baby. Not having any babies. Not producing any more black babies, because black babies are nothing but trouble. All right? And black males are nothing but trouble, so why produce them? Okay, they don't produce anything but trouble. Okay, so black females can't halfway get along with each other most of the time because they're forced to. So why not just marry each other? That's the white supremacist plan. Now the black male looking at this, and with the white supremacists encouraging it and promoting it on television, every television program, every movie that's going to be made, somehow steer that black male into thinking in terms.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Fuller.
In the thinking in terms of anuses rather than vaginas.
Why the white male's anus, though?
Well, the white male anus will be the prima donna, you might say.
Okay, why? You should ask why. Why is that going to be the prima donna?
Oh, because white people are the prima donnas. So every black male will be aspiring. All the young black boys now going to school and all like that, they're teaching it in the schools. Hey, anuses for you black males. That's what you're for. Vaginas are obsolete.
So we got
one of you. So we ain't got no business fooling around. Stop thinking about vaginas. Vaginas are taken care of. The black females are taking care of each other. You can't take care of nobody.
Do you really know of any black man that really thinks about a white man's ass? Anus?
No, but that is where they are steering it. They're going to pay big money to send you that way. And if you ain't about that, you ain't going to make no money either. You're going to be non, what do you call it? Grata, on jobs and everything. It might come a time, 50 years down the road, you won't be able to get a job unless you're into this.
Oh, gosh.
The white supremacists intend to they're pressing this metal all the way. They know that's their last gasp. If they can't pull this off, they're in big trouble. They are in big trouble, and they know it. This is why they don't touch it. They don't say anything about what I'm saying. They don't even challenge me on it, or anybody who's talking like I'm talking, except to say what? You're anti-gay.
Well, all right? Yeah, I have heard that, yes.
Oh, yes, this is what they come at you after. But they don't say anything about this as a white supremacist conspiracy. They don't touch that. They don't want anybody touching that because they know that's what it is. This is all their thing. It's not some. A lot of black people think that black people invented this. I mean, they came up with it as some type of panacea, some type of problem-solving thing. No, this is a white supremacist thing from top to bottom and from wall to wall. And they are, the white female vagina is going to be the holy grail of all vaginas. Every other vagina, black female's vagina, yellow vaginas, brown, you know, that's a bunch of scraps. I mean, you might as well just plug them up, all right? And black females just be around sucking on each other's breasts. That's what the plan is.
Wow.
And black males will be going around with their lips poked out all day long, seeking some white man, I mean, to satisfy his mouth sexually. All right? This is the plan. All right? This is the plan. I'm going to say it over and over again. That's the white supremacist plan. And so far, it seems to be working.
My. Let's do this. Talk to him at radio.com is a 24/7, no charge, worldwide broadcasting facility with hosts delivering on various topics such as news, lifestyle, sports, law, health, wellness, religion, and politics. Now, here are 3 shows that I'm going to share with you. The first one is a conversation with Don Karima. Check that out. The second one is The Wellness Spot with Tanya Karin. And the third one is Real Men with Pastor Banks. Now, if you have not engaged yourself to look into these shows, I'm not just reading it just to be reading it. Check these shows out and see if you like it. See if there is something there for you, some information. As you do this show, because you're getting information and suggestions on how to combat racism, which is white supremacy here. Anyway, all of our shows, this is what you do. Go to the talktainmentradio.com homepage, click on programs for the scheduled times. That's all you have to do. Look it up and then do it. Talktainment Radio, that's radio the way it should be heard. My name is Mr. Bobby. I am the co-host of the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., who was on the phone live from Washington, D.C. Well, I lost my page here. And we've been discussing another black man killed in the prison system of white supremacy, racism. And he's been addressing that, answering any and all questions that you come and suggest. Call in at 1-877-932-9766 for your question. But right now, we are going to go to the Gmail here. And let's see, who is this? This is from, let's say the last name is Ghana. Says this, Mr. Fuller, let me first let me say, as I do every morning, pink skins cannot change because of what they are genetically, part man, part animal. They have no idea what they are about, but we do. We just don't understand who put them here and why. I want to ask you, Mr. Fuller, what is the real meaning of all these skin colors that white people call race? We know black means dark. You just addressed that a few moments ago. Dark, scary, mean, criminal, etc. And that all white means pure, upright, angelic, etc. The reality is, Mr. Fuller, that blacks are brown, not black, and whites are pink, not white. We call the brown natives red. We call the light brown people yellow who are Asian. We call brown people that speak Spanish the Latinos or Hispanics. These words, Mr. Fuller, must be secretly coded by the white supremacists to have other legal meanings that we don't know about, since the colors don't match the actual skin color. Mr. Fuller, what is the real codified meaning of these false skin colors that whites are hiding from us?
Confusion. Like I said, that key word, the white supremacists depend on confusion. We just got through talking about confusion in sex. See, confuse people's sexuality and you got them. Anytime you get people on a mass scale confused about what sex is and what it isn't, you got them. You can do the same thing, and they have done the same thing with color. See, the white supremacists determine who's white. In fact, I read this somewhere back maybe 40 years ago that if you were Japanese and born in Japan and you came to South Africa doing what they call apartheid on business, you were what they call honorary white, as long as you were there on a passport and on business. And you could go anywhere that the white people were. I mean, as long as you're just doing business and then going back to Japan. But if you were born in South Africa during that time, so I've been told, I don't know whether it's true or not, and you were considered Asian, then you were considered non-white. You're not white. You are Asian, and you go over there and live in the Asian section. They have a section, a place for you. Like under the system of white supremacy, they got to place all non-white people. So the point that I'm making is the white supremacists can pick out any black person, a light-skinned black person, like they do among the people who are classified as Hispanic. They'll take a look at them and say, well, you're white enough to pass for white, so you're going to be white, and you're going to be rewarded for being white. So even though you got dark people in your family and whatnot, we're going to cut you off from them eventually and separate you out. And if you marry somebody, you marry up, U-P. Up meaning what? Meaning somebody lighter than you. Okay? And that's how they pull that off. See, so as the white supremacists, they do the classifying. When people go around and start doing anything like classifying themselves, see, they look at that, and they have to approve of it. Otherwise, it's not going to fly. Now, they'll say that you can classify yourself. But in common law, in the system of white supremacy, that doesn't go.
Yes, sir.
A black person can actually put on a person that looks like Marcus Garvey, can put on a sheet of paper white. All right? Actually do that. That's legal in the Northwestern Hemisphere. But after he does that, he's still not going to be treated like he's white. See, that's the key. Under what law? Common law. The common law of what? Of white supremacy. In other words, white people, if the average white person doesn't look at Marcus Garvey and say that Marcus Garvey is white, Marcus Garvey is not white. If the average white person says that Marcus Garvey is white, Marcus Garvey looking the same way that Marcus Garvey looked, he would indeed be white. But they're not likely to do that. Okay? So the white supremacists do the classifying among their prisoners. They classify you as being male, female, white, non-white. They'll say anything. You have some very prominent people in the news. I won't name any. I mean, at least one is very prominent on the world stage now. They just says anything, and it goes.
Yeah.
I mean, he'll say, well, what I'm going to tell you now is not the truth, but I'm going to say it's the truth.
Yes.
And you better believe it.
Yes.
And when he does it, it seems like it works. That's the power of white supremacy.
All right.
You can say anything. It will always work.
Okay. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, you are now on with Mr. Fuller, and you can be heard. Go ahead.
Good morning, Mr. Bobby and Mr. Fuller. I had a comment and also a question for Mr. Fuller. I was just listening to him about how the white supremacists are trying to promote sexual confusion, and their ultimate goal is to replace the black female vagina with the white male anus. And the people who might be listening, it may sound absurd, and it may sound that Mr. Fuller sounds like a lunatic, but I think that's very accurate. Just like he predicted in the 70s that black males would be walking around in tight pants and earrings in the future. And now, today, I mean, almost every young black male, I wouldn't say older black male in the Northwestern Hemisphere, is walking around in tight pants that a female would wear and earrings. So my question, because Malcolm X said, people will rise no higher than the level of thinking than the females. How do we get the black females to raise their level of thinking?
Mm-hmm. Mr. Fuller?
We have to defeat the system of white supremacy. There's no way around it. That should be what we think about when we get up in the morning and go to bed at night. Every person of color on the planet should have that as a priority. And not just defeat the system of racism, but replace it with what it should have been in the first place. And what would that be? The system of justice in capital letters. And what is justice? Guaranteeing that no person is mistreated, and guaranteeing that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help in every area of activity, 24/7, economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Nobody in any of those areas of activity is supposed to be mistreated at any time, under any circumstance. And everybody at all times is supposed to be given the most constructive, underlying constructive help in all of those areas of activity, 24/7 on the planet. That's what we should have the ambition of replacing the system of white supremacy with. Because the system of white supremacy is designed just to do what? To support what? Injustice. Imbalance between people. It's totally against justice. It's totally against anybody of color getting constructive help. Now, they'll give you all the non-constructive help that you want. Anything stupid that black people are going to do, and you don't have to take my word for it, start doing something that doesn't matter too much, something that's non-constructive, something spreading drugs among black people. The white supremacists will help you do that. That's why that's part of the black economy. Drugs. Before then, in the Northwestern Hemisphere, underground, you might say, it was whiskey, bootleg whiskey, and numbers. They'd let you do some of that, all right, without too much punishment. They'd put a little bit of hurting on you to let you know that it was illegal. But for years, in a lot of small towns, and I was in one, everybody looked up to whom? The bootlegger. Back in the old days, back in the 30s and 40s. I had, quote-unquote, care people, family members, quote-unquote, who were into bootlegging. Why? Because that's where the money was. Now it's black people slaughtering each other about drugs. Non-white people, Mexican gangs slaughtering each other, drugs, and the white supremacists will deal in it when it's profitable to them. But just like in Godfather 1, what did they say? It'll affect mostly the dark people, the coloreds. Let them lose their souls. They're nothing but animals anyway. All right? But now the white supremacists like the law of compensation, which is in the title of my book, what you put out, you just might get some of it back on you. You put out poison, you might get some of that poison on you. Now, you have what? In some sectors, not in all, but in some sectors among white people, you have what? You have something called opium or opioids, or what you call prescription drugs, that is affecting white people themselves. See, so I'm saying this to white people who believe in white supremacy. Be careful what you put out on black people, because some of it may come back to haunt you.
Okay, got to leave it.
However, the white supremacists now are very shrewd. They know this.
Okay.
They don't mind having what you call white sacrifices.
All right.
I talk about that in the textbook too.
Okay, got to leave it there. TalkTameRadio.com. We go where you go. Check us out on 94.1 WGRN. Podcasts are all available. Download the TalkTameRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. Stay right there. We have a caller and more Gmails. All that and more coming up next. And caller, turn your radio down.
For the best home fragrance and beauty products, shop Ash Cooking online.
That's ASHKICKIN.
Made with 100% natural quality ingredients and handcrafted with your family in mind, Ash Cooking products are better than those other guys. Ash Cooking candles, incense, body butter, face moisturizer, and hair moisturizer are priced just right, and you can get yours at 10% off with coupon code TALK17. Support this 100% black-owned business and get your home and body smelling and feeling alright.
That's ASHKICKIN.
Shop online at www.ashkickin.com.
If you or someone you know is abusing drugs and or alcohol and want to stop the abuse, contact APDS at 1409 East Livingston Avenue. Office hours are 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. daily and 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturday. APDS is certified by the Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services and primarily funded through the Adam H. Board. Fees are based on your income and Medicaid is always accepted. For more information, call 614-253-4448.
Are you ready for a high school that allows you to work at a place that is right for you? Are you ready to earn a certification in healthcare, business, or manufacturing while achieving your high school diploma? Then you are ready for Life Skills High School, a free public school option for high school students 16 to 21 years old. Learn more about your free high school educational options at lifeskillshs.org or call them at 1-800-888-7992. Life Skills High School, education that fits your life.
Sex Code War by Kahari Inaharo. The author of the Essence magazine bestseller Race Code War is releasing his second book, Sex Code War. Be on the lookout for Sex Code War.
This is Al Edmondson, owner of the Cutter Brother West Barbershop. I'm calling on all barbers and beauticians. It's time for us to unite as one. We can serve our communities better together. Join the Ohio Black Barber Beauty Network. For more information, visit www.obbn.org or call 614-427-3226 to get more information. Be the change that you want to see in your community. Join our network.
Here's an idea. You've heard of the notion of pay it forward? It comes from the 2000 movie Pay It Forward. Basically, the premise is helping someone with no expectations of payback, providing assistance to someone, passing information on, simply doing a good deed for a total stranger, and instead of allowing them to pay it back, ask them to pay it forward, doing favors for other people and asking them to do the same. The principle is the same as multi-level marketing, except that instead of soap or vitamins, it's generosity between strangers that is being passed on. Pay It Forward is mentoring. It's volunteering in your community. It's shoveling a neighbor's snow or cutting an elderly person's grass for them or taking a senior to the store. Don't wait for someone else to do something good. Do it yourself. It starts with you. Talktainment Radio strongly embraces the notion of pay it forward. In fact, we just did.
TalkTainmentRadio.com is proud to present the compensatory concept. It is an effective system for countering the effects of white supremacy. TalkTainmentRadio.com is able to carry the first hour. However, the cost for the second hour is exceeding our limited budget. That is why we ask for your kind assistance in keeping the second hour on the air. If you believe like we do, help us in this struggle for justice. Go to the gold donate button on the TalkTainmentRadio.com web page and hit the gold donate button. That's the gold donate button. And please donate. Help us to keep the second hour of the compensatory concept on the air. Thank you.
Live call-in talk show. Dial 1-877-932-9766 and join the conversation here on TalkTainmentRadio.com.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Go ahead. Make my day.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
You got the power.
Alrighty, let's do this. TalkTainmentRadio.com. We go where you go. Download the TalkTainmentRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. My name is Mr. Bobby, and I am blessed with the co-host of the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. And our topic today is another black man killed in the prison system of racism, which is also white supremacy. 1-877-932 is the number that you can, 932-9766 is the number that you can call to get in contact with the show, and that is what this caller has done right now. Caller, we're getting ready to put you on, but make sure that you turn your radio down because it interferes with what Mr. Fuller can hear. So caller, if you will, you are now on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead, please. Okay, caller. Again, you are on with Mr. Fuller. Turn your radio down, and you can be heard. Go ahead, please.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Everything okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Very good. So I'm calling because on the news, there was this group of black people on an island called Sentinel Island who seems to attack people whenever they're visited by someone who's not from the island. They don't go through the threats of race soldiers on the island of using their children. They don't go through the misappropriation of their women. So I'm so informed by the media that reports on them, and they seem to have been isolated there for over 30,000 years. They seem to have a code to resist the system that's dominated the planet. I call to say that because they seem to be an example of what a response is in resisting white supremacy. Thanks for taking my call.
Okay, Mr. Fuller, I guess that was under VGQ. If you could hear him, we were having difficulty here. Were you having difficulty there, Mr. Fuller?
Well, I heard him, and I've also read a piece about what he's talking about.
Uh-huh.
And if you're talking about the significance of it, from my viewpoint, well, they're still subject to white supremacists, and the white supremacists know about them. They know everything about them, I'm sure. They know every detail about these people. And so why do they allow them to be what you might call, quote, unquote, in isolation like that? The white supremacists do not bother, in places like so-called Brazil and all like that. They have segments of the non-white population where they don't go in and do certain things simply by choice, because they can choose to go there and do anything. I mean, they can bring in, food and trinkets and all this type of stuff, and they can work on the people's minds that way, drop stuff by parachute, and get the people used to receiving things from things dropped there. They have all kinds of ways that they can get to people mentally, but they choose not to do so. That's why the people are still there, doing what they're doing, and shooting arrows at anybody that comes around, but not from there. any strangers that come around.
That's part of their code.
Yes, but the white supremacists allow them to do that. The white supremacists, if they wanted to destroy them, that wouldn't be a problem at all. They'd just drop some Agent Orange on them and they'd all be dead by noon tomorrow. I mean, every last one of them.
Did you say Agent Orange?
I just named something.
Poison anyway.
Poison gas, anything.
Yeah.
And those people won't exist.
Yeah.
They've been there thousands of years, but by 12 o'clock tomorrow, noon, they will every last one of them will be dead on that place where they are. The only reason that they are there, the white supremacists know that they are there, and they just keep them there as museum pieces.
Yes.
Something to study, that's all.
Well, the only reason why I brought up Agent Orange is because I know a person that is dealing with that right now, and I was just surprised that the government even went into denial that they were using that substance back in the Vietnam War, but you have people suffering, and even through the VA, they can't get the benefits that they need for sacrificing their lives for that, but yet and still, it was said that wasn't used. I don't understand that. But anyway, I do understand what you're saying about those people over there who, even though they are allowed to exist, they're still in confinement.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, they're just a bunch of primitive people among the dark people of the planet, in different degrees of dark people being primitive, according to what the white supremacists wish. And if they wished for them to all be drinking soda pop, I mean, within 10 years, they'd be doing that.
Yeah.
But the white supremacists would just drop it.
Yeah.
You know, without even coming close to the people.
All righty.
To just say, hey, I mean, the heavens, it comes from the heavens. The big bird comes over.
Yeah.
And then finally the big bird will show up in person.
Yeah.
I mean, and bring more. By that time, they'd get used to it, and they'd be grinning all over the place. They drop those arrows.
Or maybe dropping bombs. Okay, let's go to the phone call. Miss Woods, I will try to get your Gmail before the show ends. Okay, caller, you are on with Mr. Fuller. You can be heard. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Mr. Fuller, Mr. Bobby. I was listening to Mr. Fuller on the Carl Nelson show recently, and he was talking about how school, small school-like or kindergarten-like, that the code is, and how it goes over even the best of our minds. And I started to think about how every day there's a code. I think he's mentioned there's a fire code, a school code, a work code, even gangs to a certain extent have a code. So my question is, there's actually two. The first question is, if we got a code, are you saying that will solve our problems, or is that just going to lead to the solution? And the second question is, back in the day, during, say maybe 50 or 100 years ago, or even during slavery, did we have a code back then?
Okay. Mr. Fuller.
Everything that works according to a code. Everything. That is the missing link. Black people have a lot of slogans. We got slogans and slangs all over the place. And about every year or two or every 5 years, we come up with a new slogan, a new slang. But slogans and slangs are not codes. A code is something that's detailed. A code is something that you do. How you speak, the words that you use have to be exact all the time. Not some of the time, all the time. The words that you don't use them at any time.
Yes.
The things that you do according to a code. There's just certain things that, black people should be known that are certain things they just don't do. Why? Because it's not constructive. That's why.
That's why.
There's certain things we don't say. Why? Because it's not constructive. That's why. We need a constructive code. Black people have a ghetto code, and it's just as sloppy as it can be. And it's not constructive. We have what we call black culture, and we glorify it and parade about it. But it's very little of substance that is of any constructive value.
Yes, sir.
You can't point to anything. Why? Because it doesn't get constructive results. That's why. It's a prison code.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, designed to just give prisoners something to do.
Mm-hmm.
Just pass time. But it's not problem solving. Black people need a problem solving code that each and every individual non-white person on the planet can follow. That's what I've tried to do with my volume called the Compensatory Counter-Racist Code, the textbook for victims of white supremacy. I've tried to give a send-off. It's not a whole code. You don't have somebody asked me some years ago, Fuller, where's the whole code? Is this the whole code? And I answered correctly. I said there's no such thing as a whole code until all problems are solved. I said I'm just trying to have a few suggestions about how to start a code. Because we don't have anything like a constructive code that's counter-racist and constructive at the same time.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Mr. Fuller, because that is a segue that I'm using to introduce to some and present to others your publication with you speaking about that. So, since you went there, go ahead and let's talk about that book.
Yes, you can get my little, what you might call contribution, because that's all it is, to suggestions, that's all they are, about having a code, and some suggestions about what a code would consist of. If you can get it by going to producejustice.com. And there's a revised, expanded edition of the original edition, 1984 edition, that's out now at that website. It's on sale now. A Compensatory Counter-Racist Code textbook, workbook for thought, speech, and or action for victims of the white supremacist system.
Okay.
And it's addressed to the individual person. Go to producejustice.com. What will come up on the screen is the method for ordering.
Okay. Now, what I'd like to ask you, and we did address some of this in the first hour, you had mentioned concerning your book that the book is available in Canada and also the UK. Now, I'm going to, this is a bad word, but I'm going to assume that is also through producejustice.com. Would I be correct on that?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. Go to, everything is on producejustice.com, including a posting of this program.
Oh, okay, good.
That's
good.
talktainmentradio.com.
Okay.
I mean, and and the hour, like today, that's on there. I haven't seen the site recently,
yes,
but that's on there.
Okay. Now, in the first hour, I mentioned that I got a Gmail from a man. He contacted me this morning from Denmark, going through what he said was the UK, Amazon, whatever it was, and it had UK on it. So what I'm getting at, because they went to that and that particular area, you have evidently, or somebody in your organization has contacted and set up so that you can be compensated. So when this person used that through the United Kingdom, would that indicate that you are getting compensation for the book that he has? Because he says that he has that book. He has your book.
Well, I guess I am.
Okay, good.
I am the originator of the facility that's been set up for me to facilitate this. I mean, I'm supposed to be compensated.
Good.
Unless somebody is printing the book illegally, which they should stop doing. Which that will be detected because that's illegal.
Yes.
Also, the white supremacists, if I ever become effective in what I'm doing, they will be doing all sorts of stuff.
Absolutely.
Like right now, you hear the word white supremacy used by white people. That's a danger sign, folks.
Ooh, it sure is.
All right, because once they start using it, it means they got a plan for what that will mean. And they will tailor it in such a way that it will wind up being supportive of the system of white white
Yeah,
supremacy.
because they play all sides.
Yes, they play all sides of every argument. They're experts at that.
Right.
And they know how to take words from a black person and turn those words all kinds of ways.
Yes.
So that it doesn't come out the way that it started out.
Okay. Now, this is what I was getting at. Because this gentleman from Denmark went to the UK site and did this. Now, you probably don't know this, but I'm asking because when I'm speaking with you not as a broadcaster, but also as one of the callers because I'm still learning also. Now, can other people in other countries, like, for instance, Brother Sloan, he's in, and I'll get to this call in just a second, he's in South Africa. If people go to the United Kingdom site that are not in the United States in order to book from there, your publication, is that okay?
Oh, that's okay, but I haven't been told that can be done.
Well, he did it. The guy from Denmark did it.
Yes, I know about Denmark because that's considered, the UK is considered, in that area.
Okay.
All right, so you may have gotten it through some facility there to set up for that. But I don't know about that facility.
Okay.
But in South Africa and whatnot, it is, right now, I have been told that the people who are working trying to get that book, my book, into South Africa are having difficulty doing so.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Well, let's go to the caller. Caller, you are now on with Mr. Neely Fuller. What is your question?
Yes, hi, good morning. My name is Robin. I'm calling from Arizona. And my question for Mr. Fuller this morning is, he said repeatedly that there is no place to go that the white supremacists don't have dominion over. So I'm curious to know his thought on whether traveling and participation in the travel system supports the system of white supremacy.
Well, anything that a prisoner of war does supports the prison. We're in the prison regardless of where we go. If you're a person of color, you're in the prison, and the name of that prison is the system of white supremacy, which is worldwide. So you're just traveling from one cell block to another. I mean, that's all that is. And so, it's interesting. You can learn things about the different cell blocks, but they're all cell blocks.
Okay.
Regardless of where you go. It's yes, Bwana, no Bwana, anywhere you go.
Okay. Was there any more, another question before I let you go, caller?
Just one more question.
Okay.
As I study the code book and the word guide, I was wondering what Mr. Fuller would think, or have you ever been approached with your work being an institution being created that people are able to learn the 9 areas of activity? Do you think that would be constructive?
Well, I think that it would be restrictive. That's why I've avoided when people ask me, well, where are you setting up some institution where people can go and study your textbook? I say that the institution is the entire planet.
Yes.
Yes. See, I'm trying to get out of that box. We're in a box already called the system of white supremacy. Counter-racist science is to empower the individual person. So the individual person becomes an organization.
Yes.
Black people are so used to being herded.
Yes.
Into 4 walls. That's what we call power, really. Black people don't think they have power unless they go someplace in some ornate building. I mean, that we worship that building almost. We're that way in most of our religious tendencies. I mean, we worship buildings.
Crazy.
All right? And we think that we are completely helpless if we are not sitting somewhere in the center of that building. And if we come out of that building, we feel absolutely naked.
Naked, yeah.
That's the way the white supremacists want us to think.
All right.
Because each and every white supremacist, to them, their power is in, I am the center of the universe anywhere I am. And everywhere I go, I am the power, the most powerful entity anywhere I go. Nothing is more powerful than me.
All right. Let me get this.
Where I happen to be.
Let me get this last question. This comes from Sharnez. She says this, Mr. Fuller, why do victims of racism have a hard time telling their children to be suspicious of white people, even if the person is overtly affected by racism? They still have a hard time telling their children to suspect the white may be racist.
Well, I don't tell anybody to be suspicious of white people just because they're white. I just tell people the best way to tell young people. I say always tell young people the same thing you tell old people. Be suspicious of anybody who comes to you with something that sounds like it's non-constructive, or anybody who's around you, no matter who it is. Just practice that. That'll take care of everything. That's a clean sweep. Look at everything within the dividing line. Constructive, non-constructive. So anything that anybody approaches you with, anybody that you're around, anybody that you're associated with on a job or just passing by, or at a ball game or whatever. Anybody who talks to you, ask yourself, is this a constructive conversation or is it not? Because everything is either constructive or non-constructive. And if it's constructive, you should be able to say, how is constructive? How is it constructive? Not just say, well, I think it's constructive. How is it constructive? Is it going to be something of constructive benefit? Something that's going to build me up? Or build somebody up? And who? And for what reason? Or it's going to tear me down. All right? That's all. And this is what you tell young people, old people, any people. It's real easy. It's not complicated at all. It's just constructive, non-constructive. Put that word in their heads. Those two words. Constructive, non-constructive. Because every move that every creature makes is going to have an effect that is constructive or non-constructive.
Yes.
If you're sitting eating a plate of food and you look at what's on that plate, you ask yourself that question. Somebody's serving you now. You'll say, this that I have on my plate, what part of what I have on this plate is going to have a constructive effect on my body, if any, and what part of what I have on this plate before me may have a non-constructive effect on my body, on my thoughts, on my speech, and on my action. And if there's anything that's non-constructive, you say, well, I'm going to leave that part there.
Yes. Mr. Fuller, I saw recently, the other night I was researching, and I saw that this company has, I think it was a Chinese company, has meshed together, I guess you could call it a GMO, but they've made this chicken nugget without the use of a chicken. And it may have been here, but anyway, they're going to start marketing this. It's supposed to be in December, and I'm not saying chicken nuggets because of a certain company that makes them, but they're making this food. They grew some cells, and I guess it tastes like chicken, smells and looks like chicken, but a chicken has never been involved in it. What say you about this genetically modified food? And is it food?
That's exactly what the white supremacists are doing with everything when it comes to non-white people. Artificiality, artificial economics, artificial education, all 9 areas of activity, artificial entertainment. Entertainment that's really not entertainment because it's not constructive.
Sure.
All right? There are all kinds of stuff that they're putting out here. Just total garbage. Tons of it. Feed it to them. Or dump it on them. And black people run around just as crazy as we can be. In the third area of activity. And then labor, law, artificial politics.
I thought about the 3 T's that you always use.
Oh, yeah. Well, these are the results of all of this artificiality, including artificial food. All right? And definitely, like I said in the previous hour, artificial sex.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were going all out on that. I mean, you won't be able to recognize sex.
Tragic
through with it when it comes to non-white people.
Mm-hmm.
And so, hey, so the food, the medicine, artificial medicine.
All that.
So just look at the advertisements on television right now.
All righty. We got to leave it there, Mr. Fuller.
All right.
Sorry. But TalkTameItRadio.com, the world's greatest radio the way it should be heard. Thank you for listening, and thank you, Mr. Fuller, for all of your suggestions. We'll see you next week.